Hello everyone, this is Pharaoh Vincent with Nation 473. Video on very specifically melee and why they're important in loss events. Um, my alliance leader actually went ahead and added a few reports. I want to go through the top one and the bottom one. There's many that we could probably go through, but I feel like let's look at a win and a loss. And the goal of this is to really explain what I expect to see with some of the losses that we're seeing in these hits. Obviously this particular fight, we outnumbered them and won. That's pretty obvious. But going through individuals, it's like, okay, the question was posed to me, which is why are some people losing next to no troops? And why are some people losing a lot of troops? And it comes down to melee. It comes down to choice of what you're sending. And it's also going to come down to at least a little bit of hit order. So the way I see this hit is who's here first, who's here second, who's here third, right? I would predict that this particular individual who sent a lot of frontline, right, like 73,000 surviving T10 shredders, plus, that's what's another 6,000, so they're sending almost 90,000 front row to this hit. The wounded ratio needs some work. I can see a lot of things with this report, even in a victory, right? Why is this individual losing, significantly less versus this one over here who's losing, this many versus, AKE who's lost basically nothing. So let's talk. I am going to make some predictions. I haven't looked at this battle report yet. VR Lisa, the Odd, Kaz, and AKE probably all arrived very early on to the fight. I'm imagining Champ did too. Ace, I think, showed up a little bit later, as well as Litrax, the Nice Raider, and Cedric is going to be a late hit as well. Oh, and Eth over here. So let's watch the video because this is the only way I'm going to know the order. So when we start off, we see name Kaz joined, VR, Ace, Eth, Nice Raider, Litrax. Cedric joins right there at the very end. And, you can see some of this because when you first jump into this battle, right, you need the people who are there first to start losing troops. And the name you didn't see was AKE at all, which means AKE was there from the beginning. You didn't see the Odd at all, which means he was there from the beginning. And you didn't see Champ there at all, which means he was there from the beginning. So those three all hit before the battle map dropped. The reason why AKE lost 38 troops was because of his individual troops that he sent. And he's sending T12 shredders where everyone else is sending T10s. Because it's a tier higher, that means they have to lose all of the troops for him to lose any troops at all. So if you see here, at no point do we ever hit a number of shredders that is equal to or less than what his total number that he sent was, right? And that's because, VR sent so many and because a lot of other people did as well. Okay, so of the people that were there from almost the onset, we have 355% melee hit points on VR. And Kaz arrived right around the same time, but we're looking at 311, right? And then, let's see, the Nice Raider showed up pretty early on. He has 408. And if you notice, he's lost less than Kaz and showed up right around the same time of the same exact troop. The reason that is because, one, he's sending a lot less than he is. But two, it comes down to that total hit points. So to kill one of his units costs more hit points. And you can kind of see this in a lot of these, right? Lit Litrex has, tons of melee hit points, but he didn't even send that many shredders. His shredders almost lost nothing, but he lost a bunch in tanks because he's the only one sending tanks. Everyone else is sending the T10 shredders. If Litrex sent the same number of shredders as tanks, his losses would be significantly less, but everyone else's would be theoretically higher because, those tanks absorbed hits too. So, and then my boy Champ sent a 1/198 just straight up. And he didn't get that many kills, most likely because he's fighting AKE for them, but also, he's using a lot of the T11 cannons, and they didn't really get a lot of kills. They spent most of the fight just walking rather than hitting, and so that's part of the reason why that's so low. And if you can see, AKE has a lot of the kills. So he absorbed tons. Champ didn't get as many. And AKE's kills primarily came from the T12 EMP cannons, and his shredders actually did fairly decent damage too. So yeah, that's kind of the quick gist of this. Again, I made some predictions early of what order people showed up in, and that is almost exactly how they showed up, right? So we can see that the big part of Litrex is just he showed up kind of later with the tanks. So let's look at a defeat. We're going to do the same thing. Same experiment, right? We're looking here. We have 8 million troops not 8 million, 8 defenders with 2.3 million troops. We have 4 attackers with 1.2 million troops. On the offset, we don't have any of the big guys, right? So there's no champs, there's no AKEs, so we're losing the big guns. So now at this point, we are going to be fighting with these 4 people, and we're going to take a look. So right out the gate, we're looking at some total of about 10,000 melee troops. That's just rough to look at. 113,000 lost T11 cannons. Whew, that's a lot. Okay. And then we're going to kind of briefly go through here. Everyone lost significantly. If I had to guess why this particular fight went awry, comes down to when people arrived. So I'm thinking that we had an instance where not everyone arrived at the exact same time, and we're sending a lot less melee here than in the previous report. So I think a lot of people started to lose melee. But why is this important? So we're going to find out. I'm thinking Kaz showed up first. I'm thinking Litrex, and then Ben and I don't even know how to say that. Wonderbread? Sure. Showed up right after. So let's take a look. So Kaz actually showed up later. Ooh, got that off. And then here comes all of the enemy reinforcements. Ready? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. That Titan going down there really hurt them too. Okay. So someone showed up way late. Oh, it's probably Wonderbread too. Yeah, because Ben and Kaz are there. Okay. So yeah, and then we get further into the fight. We almost won. That would have been a great time for everyone to hit withdraw, by the way. And right here. Yeah. So Wonderbread showed up right as the Titans were dying. Oh. So basically he was 1v8. Yeah, so, the melee itself, I mean, he didn't stand a chance in that fight, because if those melee would have been there from the get-go, and if everyone had arrived at the exact same time at the beginning of this fight, right, you can see here we're almost through them. We almost got there. We're right next to the back row. So if we had just another 100,000 troops at the start of that, we probably would have been on Titans. And if we killed their Titans, there's a good chance we wouldn't have actually lost the fight even. We'd have killed them from the back out, and that would have been a much better fight. But again, trying to figure out, okay, well, why did, Kaz lose this many shredders? Why did Ben lose that many shredders? First off, they lost the fight. For that many troops, these guys would have needed to have sent, I don't know, almost at least 200,000 front row. But, I mean, honestly, it needs to even be bigger than that. Because generally I like around 1,000 troops for every 100,000 you're fighting, and around there is a good general idea, but it really varies. I think the why that worked out versus this one, it gets tricky. When you look at individual stats, wow, that got destroyed. When you look at individual stats, when you arrive matters just as much as what you're sending, right? Because again, AKE sending T12s, he's not going to have as many losses. Kaz sending T10s, guess what? He's going to have some losses. And in this one, right, a lot of people are sending T10s, and they're not getting a lot of losses, and that's because it alternates, right? The long and short of it is the game tries to spread your losses out evenly over the battle participants at that moment. So if I'm rolling in there with 500% melee hit points, at the same time that, Wonder Bread is running in there with 212% melee hit points, that means the game is going to more or less kill one of my troops, kill one of his troops, kill one of my troops, kill one of his troops. It's trying to do that, but because his troops have so many less hit points, it takes a bigger hit to kill mine to then get to his. So he is, in essence, letting the whole front row down because his stats are lower, which therefore means that the threshold to kill his troops is a lower part of the pool, and that brings the overall hit point pool down, and then it kind of more or less just doesn't help us as much. It's not as beneficial. And I wouldn't say it hinders, but it definitely hurts, right? It's not helping as much as it should be. So when we look at the order, right, Litrex is almost by himself for the first bit of this fight, it seems like. AKE joined. So he joined late. VR Lisa joined late. Champ, Eth, Kaz, Nice Raider. Yeah, see, all these guys are jumping in. You can see the Titans both died and respawned, and the battle went all haywire on the side. So yeah, there's two things that these reports should teach you. First off, don't arrive this late. If you notice this battle is a great one to show this, because all of the front row is still here. The front row is still standing. The front row is still standing. The front row never dies for us, right? We got to their actual cannons and back row troops. We are hitting them over here on the side as people are still arriving. And when that happens, we kill you from the back to the front, right? And I'm going to do it one more time. This time a little bit quicker. We're going to slow it down right here. So again, we're currently on these troops over here. Nothing here is stopping us from getting them down. And now they had reinforcements pop in, but guess what? We're still on top of your damage dealing troops. You gotta arrive at the same time if you're ever gonna stand a chance. We lost this fight not just because the enemy had more troops, but because their arrival times are just way off. So PSA, whatever you want, send more melee. Arrive at the same time. You're going to have much better chances of winning these fights. I think the other thing that people ask me about a lot, or at least I heard a lot about, was, well, how much should I send? Again, I without knowing anything about the enemy, I shoot for about 1,000 troops for every 100,000 I'm fighting. That's my general rule of thumb. It's not perfect, because that could be too much melee, right? You could just dominate them because they have terrible stats, and then you sent way too much, and now you're going to get extra losses because melee hit like wet noodles. Even if you're a melee city, they still hit like wet noodles. Or it could be nowhere near enough because, you know, they have a stacked out C-35 that gets 1.5 billion points in the void. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. Void Master. Cough, cough. So that's the really the crux of this video. Again, arrive on time. Again, send about 1,000 troops for every 100,000 you're fighting, and that's for every single person in the fleet. So why is that important? Okay, hey, if I sent 1,000 troops and Champ sent 1,000 troops, and, you know, Litrex sends 100,000 troops, Kaz sends 100,000 troops, everyone's sending 100,000 is a lot. Everyone's sending 1,000 for that 100,000. These hits would have been, oh hey, somebody attacked me. Cool. These hits would have been much more sustainable, right? It helps. The other PSA that I'm going to give to everyone here, there's a reason why I lose less troops than get sent to my wounded. So everyone here needs to work on a stat that is the most important stat if you're fighting in voids, so that you don't lose everything. This is my last tip before we call the video. You need wounded ratio. Because if you're not rolling at least 50% wounded ratio at this stage of the game, you're going to have a much harder time sustaining yourself through these long voids. Because those would have saved us, I don't know, probably, it's hard to estimate, hang on. We lost around 200 million battle power as an alliance, right? So we're down around, actually almost 300 million. So let's say we increased our collective wounded ratio by 10%, just 10%. You know, we would have saved ourselves almost 1 million battle power. Would be 300,000, right? Easy. All right, 20%. You have 600,000. If you're closer to the 50% threshold like I am, because most of these guys are rolling less than 30, and that's saying something because you can get 20 for free. When you're looking at, is it 20 or is it higher? Actually, I'm going to double check my number real quick. You know, if you're rolling, 10% here, 10% from this. So yeah, it's 20 base from your garage and your academy. If you're looking at about 30 extra percent from your officers, you know, you're gonna get half your troops back. If we hit that 50% threshold, guess what? That's 150 million BP back. It's not hard to get that high, especially, you know, if you've already maxed out all of your officers down below for your combat officers. It really does help. But this stat would have saved us 150 million BP worth of troops. And a lot of these guys are currently having issues with fighting in the Triangle War because they have killed all their troops. So just PSA, get your wounded ratio up, guys. That way you're more useful to the team long term. So this video's gone on long enough. I appreciate all of your guys' time. Thank you so much for, you know, supporting the channel. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all the good YouTube things. That really helps the channel out. And thank you guys so much. I hope this all helps. Have a good day.